Hi, this is Joe again with another review. And this video is actually a big deal for me because this video is my 600th video on YouTube. Um, True, not all of them are, movie reviews. Some of them I actually personally shot with my digital camera. So not all of them are movie reviews, but combine them all, it's 600. This is the 600th video, and of course they don't. YouTube doesn't count which ones are movie reviews or whatever. It just count how many videos you posted, and so this is my 600th video. Another, I would say probably 550 or 560 videos, or maybe around 570. I haven't really kind of deleted the ones that aren't reviews, but long story short, this is my 600th video, and to do for a special for my 600th video, I'm going to be discussing a movie that's celebrating. So now we're in 2017, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and that of course is the 1977 film, or quote unquote classic, if you want to term it that way, the John Travolta film Saturday Night Fever. Of course, this movie's been a lot on cable TV because it is the 40th anniversary of the film. And of course, there are about three things that everybody remembers from Saturday Night Fever. One is, of course, the soundtrack by the Bee Gees, which is one of the at the time that the movie came out and the soundtrack came out, was one of the biggest selling movie soundtracks of all time. And it's definitely maybe in the top 5 of the highest selling movie soundtracks of all time, along with Titanic and Dirty Dancing and The Bodyguard. That's how high, and it's still that high. It's still that high. One of the biggest selling movie soundtracks of all time, and the Bee Gees wrote practically all the music for it. And the second thing that people remember for it is the opening sequence with John Travolta strolling down the street carrying a paint can to the beat of the Bee Gees song Staying Alive. Walking down 86th Street with the B train, or was the B train then, and the New York City subway in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, walking down the street with carrying a paint can, strolling and flirting with some women as he was walking down the street. And the third thing that a lot of people remember is the dancing sequences. And that's it. And that's because the rest of the movie was pretty much crap, in my opinion. I mean, it didn't really do anything for me, this movie. Except, of course, seeing the dancing sequences, and of course, in the opening. But of course, I have to get into the plot. Now, the plot of the movie is John Travolta, of course, was fresh of being on, and he was still, at the time, currently being on the television show Welcome Back Kotter, and they gave him some time off, and at that point of the show, of Welcome Back Kotter's run, John Travolta was pretty much running out of the show, so he could be free to do movies. He only had one movie under his belt. I forgot what the title of it was, but I think it was just before Welcome Back Kotter came on the air, or during the first season. So he was so huge on Welcome Back Kotter that movie producers came in and said, "Hey, let's do a movie with John Travolta," and they wrote. Saturday Night Fever was actually based on a book, and it's about the disco scene in New York City. So they said, "Hey, since John Travolta's the hot new guy for being on Welcome Back Kotter, let's cast him in this role," and he was, terrific in the role, and he became a huge movie star because of Saturday Night Fever. And of course, the very next film was Grease that he did. He immediately got cast in Grease, and of course that movie was one of the most popular movie musicals of all time. So, because of those two films, that made John Travolta to a bona fide movie star, and he left. He never did another television show ever after that. For the next 40 years, he's been concentrating on movies. He never did another television show. We never cast another TV show. after that, in 40 years, if you could believe it. So John Travolta was cast as playing Tony Manero, who was obviously the main character. And he works in a paint store. He's doing all these great like odd jobs, like a working class bum in Brooklyn. And of course, when it makes something out of himself, get out of Brooklyn, because the guys he hung out with were all pieces of garbage, and they are pieces of garbage, and I will eventually get into that. Remember, he was fascinated with the disco scene, and the irony is that when Saturday Night Fever came out, the disco scene was pretty much dying out by the time that the movie came out. But the movie kind of came a little bit of a kickstart, or gave a second win to the disco scene. But then disco, by the time the movie came out on television, by 1978 and 79, disco pretty much was dead as a doornail by the time this movie. But literally by the time this movie came out, but it gave it like a little kickstart for like another year or two, and then it was pretty much as the whole hoopla of the movie died down. That's when disco was officially dead as a genre, as a music genre and a dance scene. So anyway, John Travolta was his character. Tony was fascinated with the disco scene and all that stuff. And so were his friends, and that's where they picked up girls, and they were interested in screwing them, for lack of a better term, and having sex with them. And of course, they used the language in this movie was unbelievable, and that's when the language of movies started to change. Roughly about that time in the 70s. And they were using a lot of profanity, which was rare. Even in the 1970s was rare. For a film to have profane language in a film. And they used the strongest curse word ever to describe women. They actually used the C word a lot. In this movie, plus a lot of racial epithets in this film. Of course, nowadays you're not going to have that type of language. If the Saturday Night Fever came out today, they want to have that language in it. And of course, the particular disco that John Travolta and his buddies were hanging out in, found out that they were going to have a dancing competition. Actually with disco music. So John Travolta says, "Okay, how am I going to?" Because his friend says, "Hey, you're a good enough dancer, and you go for this prize." So he says, "Okay, who do I get to dance with me?" And then they had a mutual friend, a little group, was played by Donna Pesco, actually. And he said, "Hey, why don't you practice with me for this dance competition?" And at first he said, "Okay, yeah, sure." And they started dancing. But meanwhile, Donna Pesco was more interested in Tony than Tony was interested in her. There were several times throughout the movie where Donna Pesco's character wanted to have sex with Tony. And Tony kept saying, "No, I'm just interested in practicing for this dance competition. I'm not interested in having sex with you." But she kept pressuring him to have sex. And he kept saying, no. For some reason, he kept saying no to her. Because he wasn't interested in her in that way. Interested in her maybe kind of like a friend or acquaintance, but not somebody to have constantly have sex with, or booty calls. We call them today. But she wasn't interested, and he wasn't interested in her. But she says, "Hey, like Tony, I bought condoms tonight. Why don't we have sex tonight, or tomorrow night? I'm more ready to have sex with you." And he kept saying, "No, no, 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 no." And then one particular day when he knows a friend who owns his dance studio, and the guy lets Tony come in and practice, for nothing. And he saw this other girl dancing, was much better dancer than the other girl was, than Donna Pesco was. So he says, "Hey, why don't we hook up?" He dumps Donna. Donna was upset over it that he decided not to be partners with him anymore and go with this other girl. And of course, that's where the best scenes of the movie were Ellen Gormley, I believe her was the actress' name, and this was her first movie role. And they worked really well in the film together, and those were the best scenes in the film. The scenes where Tony was hanging out with his friends, I thought that was like the worst part and distracted from the main, to me, distracted from the main plot. Because all of his friends were a piece of crap. Because there was one particular subplot where one of the friends and one of the guys in Tony's little group gets the crap beat out of him. And so what they do is they go to the place where it tells them, hey, these guys beat this Puerto Rican gang beat the shit out of me. So they go to where the gang was and they beat the shit out, and they had like this huge fight, and they broke down to the headquarters a little bit with the car, and they all got the shit beat out of them, and they beat the shit out of the Puerto Rican gang, and it was like a mutual combat pretty much, because both of them got the shit beat out of them. And of course, after they had all the bandages all over the face, black eyes, bloody noses, cuts and scrapes all over the faces and everything else. And then John Travolta has to go and do his dance competition. So of course, they do the dance competition, which is of course actually the big scene. And of course, the last couple that danced was like this Puerto Rican couple. And of course, they had all these derogatory remarks about the couple, saying, "Oh, they're a bunch of specks." Excuse my language if there ain't Puerto Ricans actually watching this video, but that's what the lines were and the dialogue is in the movie. So I'm quoting lines from the film. So don't please don't write any crap saying I'm racist or anything like that. Excuse me. And so because for instance, all these stupid specks are coming from, they don't even live in this neighborhood, they're not going to win. And sure enough, even though the Puerto Rican couple were the best dancers, obviously they didn't win. The reason why they didn't win, of course, was their friends fixed it with the club. They fixed the competition so that Tony would win. They actually paid them. Tony's friends actually paid them off the judges to give these guys the winners instead of anybody else. And they actually were stupid enough to tell him that. To tell Tony that. And Tony says, "What the hell? Are you crazy?" And then what they did was, after they got the prize, Tony went over because Tony thought that the Puerto Rican couple was the best couple. And they were the best couple. And of course, Lynn Gormley there says, "Hey, we won. What are you complaining about?" I said, "Well, the problem is that the contest was fixed in our favor." And the girls didn't believe it. Said, "Hey, my friends fixed it for us to win," which isn't right, because you and I both know they were better than us. Come on, they weren't that much. And the girls said, "Oh, they weren't that much better." And of course, what happened after that night, Donna Dixon was in there with the car, and they're all happy, they're all excited that Tony won. And Tony was upset with all of them because, hey, they fixed the contest for us. And Donna Dixon was finally want to have sex. Again, saying on Tony, and Tony didn't want it, but all the other guys wanted it, and they were all banging her in the backseat. They were all having sex with her in the backseat of the car. They pretty much were gang raping her, and it is a pretty graphic scene. For 1977 audiences, it was pretty graphic. But like three or four guys were just banging her in the backseat, and of course, when all that stuff, when all the other guys in the car except for Tony had sex with her, Tony and Donna Pesco was in the car alone together. She's crying, she's bawling her eyes out because of what happened. That she had sex with everybody else but him, and he was the one, and Tony was the one that she actually wanted to have sex with. Then these other guys. Tony says to her, "I hope you're happy now, and you are now instead of saying the B word, I'm calling her a bitch. No, you're a real bitch now. She's calling her a C word. Of course, I'm not going to say what the C word is, so you can look it up." I said, "No, instead of saying, calling her a slut, it's called worse than a slut." And Tony says, "Well, I hope you're happy now, you idiot," pretty much. And then one of the friends, Tony's friends, claims up who got his ass kicked earlier in the film, climbed up on the Verrazano Bridge, and he accidentally fell into the into the war and died. Um, so of course Tony was so upset over that he goes back on the subway and he rides the subway all night and goes to, and then I know I'm missing. I know she has like three names, but Lynn Gome's house or apartment. And says, "I want to be friends with you," and that's pretty much how the film ends. Uh, that's literally how the film ends. With the two of them holding hands in the apartment, and that's it. Meanwhile, he never says to her, "Hey, one of my friends accidentally fell off the Verrazano Bridge." Uh, they never even he never even brings that up. Of course, like I said earlier, the only subplots other than the dancing stuff, the Bee Gees soundtrack, of course, and the opening. That's the only three notable things from this film. The rest of it is just really regular garbage. I mean, the rest of the movie didn't really do anything for me except for the three things I mentioned. Of course, 6 years later, I'm not kidding, but 6 years later, they actually made a sequel to this film called Staying Alive, where John Travolta was in a Broadway show. And of course, it was notable for two reasons. Two of his guest stars. One had to be Fiona Hughes, who was a trained dancer. She was actually professionally trained dancer, and she was in the Broadway version, not the Broadway version, the original London version of Cats. I don't know if she ever performed Cats on Broadway, but she did in London. Performed Cats in London before Cats came to the United States. And also Cynthia Rhodes, who 4 years later starred in Dirty Dancing. She was the girl who had the illegal abortion in Dirty Dancing. Both of them starred in this movie. And when the sequel's name is Staying Alive, and it was directed by Sylvester Stallone. And it was the only other movie, one of the few movies outside the Rocky movie series that Stallone directed. And the movie was a very forgetful and regrettable sequel, because the Staying Alive was not that good. It was not that good at all. But it was criticized, and actually, of course, I've seen bits and pieces of Staying Alive, and I saw it and said, boy, what a piece of garbage this movie is. I thought it was awful, it was terrible. All they had was dancing on the Broadway stage, mostly the rehearsals. And then you had a big scene at the end with the show that John Travolta was cast in, always on Broadway. And of course, at the end of the scene, it says, and one of the girls that or love interest, they didn't even bring back the same love interest in the first film. They brought somebody else in. And he says, what are you going to do? I said, I want to strut. And then he opens up the stage door entrance, walks around Times Square with the music of the song "Staying Alive" from the Bee Gees, and he's strutting down Times Square. And that's how "Staying Alive" ended, and which is a pretty forgettable film. I think almost ruined what the first film was. But if the original Saturday Night Fever did not have that soundtrack from the Bee Gees, I don't think this movie was going to be all that successful at all, because of all these other little subplots in the film that kind of like messes it up. One of the subplots of Saturday Night Fever that I didn't mention was that Tony had a brother who was a priest and decided to drop out of the priesthood. So you had that. Of course, you also had scenes where John Travolta was wearing this fancy disco outfit, and he has it napkin up to here, and his father slaps him in the head, and because he says something that the father didn't like, said, "Hey, watch the hair." Like a lot of things could be made fun for this film, but for the movie itself, I think it was just not that great. Saturday Night Fever, like I said earlier, Saturday Night Fever didn't really do anything for me except for the three things I mentioned. Well, also you can make four things. John Travolta's performance, the performances themselves, especially for the main character, John Travolta, Don Pascal, Lynn Gormley. Sorry, I didn't mention her full name. those three performances were good and made me recover that Friends were maybe like over the top Italian thugs, for the most part, in my opinion. But for the performances were, you okay. So for outside of the except for the main characters, the rest of the performances were alright. But for the film, some of the subplots with the friends, with the thugs being up a Puerto Rican gang and getting into fights, and the one that fell off the Venezuela bridge got his girlfriend pregnant. So my guy had to go, and so I convinced her to have an abortion. She wanted to have the abortion, so I have to go marry her now. And there was also one of the subplots that became kind of distracting for the main, what I consider the main plot, and that's totally practicing for the dance competition. And if they didn't have those subplots in there, I'm sure the movie would probably be like 20 minutes shorter, or maybe even a half hour shorter. But the other thing that I didn't even know about Saturday Night Fever was that it was directed by John Badham, who directed, like 6 years later, the same year the Saturday Night Live came out, directed War Games, which I previously reviewed. So if you haven't checked, please check out that review. But for Saturday Night Fever, it was, it's a film for me. It was other than the three things I know I'm repeating myself here, but other than the three things I mentioned, it was a pretty, that's what Saturday Night Fever is known for those three sequences. So let me review of Saturday Night Fever. Please click on the video, please rate it. Feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel. And please forward this video to your Facebook pages. You can check out all my videos and on my YouTube channel at rowdyc.com. That's all WDY and then C.com. The whole page is the Rowdy Reviewer, Chris Lee Moore. Please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.